the top 6 finance and accounting certifications for 2024, whether you want to work in India or overseas. Stay tuned till the end. Hopefully, something you will find here which should make a difference in your career. So, the 6 courses I'm going to talk about are CA, ACCA, CFA, CPA, CMA, and FRM. All of these are either accounting, finance, or both. Let's jump into it. Number 1, I always give a lot of credit to the Indian CA by the ICAI body. The Chartered Accounting program in India is one of the best, most respected, and probably one of the most difficult exams in the world. But you become an expert in everything when it comes to finance and accounts. Now, it's definitely your sort of scope becomes unlimited, because if you're a chartered accountant, not only can you work in CA firms, there is never going to be a dearth of demand of CAs, because the Indian government has made it compulsory that every company has to ensure that their financial statements, their balance sheet, their profit and loss account, they are audited. And the only people in the country who can audit are CAs, which means if you have more companies, you will need more CAs and you will never go out of work. Similarly, you want to talk about income tax, which every one of us has to pay, or any form of taxation, GST, corporate tax, it just goes on and on. And again, the experts over here are chartered accountants. Beyond the actual CA work, I know so many. I was working in PwC, and one of my friends, Namit, he's a chartered accountant, of course. He landed up starting his own startup. He took massive funding. This is around 2015. And he went into this whole mobility sector where he had a startup for two-wheelers across the country. And I think it was doing fantastically well till COVID. And then he got a chance to work in Netherlands through this opportunity post-COVID. All of this stemming from the fact that he had done CA. And of course, he had an entrepreneurial bug. But the point is that that's what you can do. Simultaneously, the seniors who I was working in PwC with, one of them is working in KPMG Australia. The other one is, at least was working in PwC Singapore. Again, showing that even as a CA, if you are good and you have enough experience with a good brand in India, you can also move international. CA is always a great program, guys. The pros are, of course, indefinite. The only thing which I would want you all to be careful about is, if you are watching this video a little late in life, which means you're not, the best time to start CA is if you just given 12th, right? Anytime after that, CA becomes a little slow process, because it takes a minimum of 4 to 5 years if everything goes well. So that's the only con, guys. If time is an advantage you want, and if you're watching this video at the wrong time in your life, then beyond that, CA is awesome. All right, let's go to the next one, ACCA, the qualification which I have pursued, which has given me my entire career. ACCA, again, we made detailed videos on it. It's what we call global CA. It's become extremely popular in India, and because it's global in nature, not only can you work in India, but you can work anywhere in the world, right? You can complete ACCA in 2 to 3 years. You can complete it along with college. If you're working, you can complete it along with work. And the advantage is that because of its flexibility, but it has high knowledge density, which means if you're an Indian CA and you're an ACCA, your knowledge level is literally the same, with a few exceptions of Indian tax versus international tax. But beyond that, ACCA gives you the same opportunities if you want to work in India, same kind of salary packages, same kind of growth opportunities in India. Plus, again, I know people who've gone to Canada, who've gone to Australia, all of this because having ACCA as their qualification. Also, guys, at Zell, we are platinum partners when it comes to the ACCA body. So beyond this short explanation, you can look at the detailed videos we have. But anything else you want as a one-to-one customization, please reach out to us. We'll be able to guide you on ACCA across any spectrum of the qualification. Now, ACCA and CA both are, like I said, a combination of finance and accounts. In fact, ACCA also has a business angle to it. But let me come to the third best qualification, which is CFA, right? The number one program in the field of finance and investment management. Yesterday I was talking to the vice president of National Stock Exchange, who himself is a CFA, plus FRN actually. But we were talking about CFA and how CFA is sort of broad and covers everything that you need to know in finance, and how it is enough to build a career for anybody who is willing to put in the effort in the field of finance. Now, most of the time people want to get into investment banking or portfolio management. And sometimes in the companies you want to go for, we need to combine CFA with MBA. But beyond that, a lot of people with just CFA, with just extreme effort, have been able to crack amazing salary packages with companies that are dream companies for these guys. one of my colleagues was back in the day, he had just done CFA level 2 and he worked with a company called Anand Rathi, and his salary I think was north of 10 lakhs that time, all because of CFA. And now he has his own little business where he helps individuals manage their finances. Another friend of mine with me in PwC, he did CFA, then he worked after PwC in Citibank, and then he went overseas to study MBA at Rice University in the US. And at the end, he had CA, PwC, CFA, Citibank, and an MBA. And now he's thriving in the investment banking field in the US. CFA was integral to all of this. So CFA again has an unlimited scope, very well recognized. Anybody who tell you're a CFA, they know what you are and they value you just like the way they value a chartered accountant. All right, next is CPA. Now CPA is the US CA, and this is mainly for people who are slightly experienced or already chartered accountants in India. You want to add a US qualification. You're an Indian CA, for example. You want to add a US CA to your profile. It is US CPA. You are a graduate, but you want to get into this field, but you want something which is US related and quick. CPA is one of the best qualifications. There are 4 exams in CPA. You can finish it in a year and a half, and there is enough scope again in India, in all these big companies, as well as obviously if you want to go to the US. Great program for those who are looking at either getting into the US CA field, or you want to upskill yourself with what qualifications you have here in India. Next, CMA US. Now, this is not to be confused with CMA India. CMA US is, again, in the videos I've made, I've explained that how it's exploded in demand since the pandemic in India. So CMA is all about management accounting. First of all, what that means quickly is that while you do CA, CCA, CPA, this is all to do with balance sheets, with profit and loss accounts, and it is all to do what we call reporting. It's all to do with external, you're working on these numbers to make sure that the government, the income tax authorities, the banks, the investors, the markets, they all know how the company is done. But it's for external purposes. CMA is for internal purposes, right? If I give the example of Google, if you're working for Google and you're a CMA, your job is to figure out how to increase profitability of YouTube, which is a part of Google. How do you increase the margins of Gmail? How do you change the price point of Google Drive? Maybe for India versus US. What is the currency fluctuation? If you like understanding how to use numbers to help customers, and when you find that solution, you give it to your seniors and they feel you're making their life easier, their work easier, CMA is a highly valued, highly regarded, and you can work in any company across the world because you'll be able to advance that organization. Last, guys, is FRM, Financial Risk Management. Again, coming back to my conversation with one of the faculties of NSC yesterday, FRM is superbly technically valued, right? It has content and syllabus which is not there in any of the qualifications I mentioned. It goes more into statistics, more into financial models, and the best is if you're a CFA, you combine it with an FRM, which means you have everything that you need to know in finance, which is what CFA does, but FRM goes in depth when it comes to financial risk. And also, if you all know, there is a designation in the country which is rising, or in the world actually. We know CEOs, CFOs, COOs, but there's also something called CRO, a Chief Risk Officer, whose job is to manage risk for organizations, whether it is cyber risk, digital risks, or proper financial risks of fraud, of any form of mismanagement. All of this is risk handled by a Chief Risk Officer. And for that, FRM is, again, very coveted, very in demand. So with all of these, of course, each of them have more details that might help you make a decision, especially based on where you are in life. What is it that you've experienced so far? Do you have an understanding of which direction you want to go in? Is it to do with the country, or is it to do with the role? Is it to do with what you like, or is it to do with the salary? All of these questions can be answered if you go through each of these more in depth. Again, not only watch the videos we've created where we answer all of these things, but if you need any one-to-one customization for your own journey, your own roadmap, feel free to reach out. Leave it in the comments if required, and we'll ensure that we get back to you all.